The stillness you mistake for peace is the hush of the sepulchre. The face you show the world is but a polished tombstone, marking the place where something true was buried. I have seen it in the crowded thoroughfare, in the hushed and solemn church, in the glittering ballroom awash with false laughter, a peculiar and pervasive sadness that clings to the modern soul. It is not the sadness of loss, of a love taken, or a fortune squandered, for those are clean wounds that bleed and in time scar. No, this is a different malady altogether. It is the sadness of the actor who has played his part for so long, he has forgotten the cues that would call him back to his own being. He has forgotten the very sound of his own voice, unaided by the prompter in the wings. We have constructed, each of us, a persona, a thing of varnish and veneer, crafted not from the oak and iron of our true nature, but from the plywood and plaster of expectation. We have sanded down our rough edges, those very facets which catch the light and give us character, for fear they might snag the delicate fabric of societal approval. We have painted over our grain, that unique map of our history, with the uniform dull gray of conformity. We speak in the borrowed phrases of the newspaper and the gossip column. We adopt the opinions that are handed to us like coins, and we fear nothing more than the terrifying prospect of being seen. For to be seen is to be known, and to be known is to be vulnerable. What if they see the doubt that gnaws at the foundation of your carefully constructed confidence? What if they perceive the yearning that burns, a secret and shameful fire, in the deep chambers of your heart? What if they witness the childish fear, the raw and unvarnished need, the trembling hand that seeks not applause but connection? Better, the coward's heart whispers, to remain behind the mask. Better to be admired for a fiction than to be pitied for a truth. But I tell you, this mask is not a shield. It is a coffin. It does not protect the life within. It suffocates it. With every performance, every denial of your own stirring spirit, you hammer another nail into the lid. You become a living ghost, haunting the shell of your own existence, speaking words written by another, performing actions dictated by a script you did not author. You feel a profound isolation, a loneliness that no amount of company can assuage, for you are not truly with anyone. How could you be? You have not brought yourself to the gathering. You have sent a representative, a diplomat from a country that no longer exists. This isolation is the natural offspring of inauthenticity. We build walls to keep others from seeing our supposed imperfections, and then we find ourselves prisoners in a fortress of our own making, staring out through the narrow slits at a world of connection from which we have exiled ourselves. We see the easy camaraderie of others, the unguarded laughter, the touch that does not calculate, and we attribute it to some grace they possess that we do not. We fail to understand that the gate is locked from the inside. The key is not to become more charming, more witty, more successful in the eyes of the world. The key is to become more you. The raw, the unedited, the sometimes awkward, the passionate, the flawed, the magnificent you. This fear of being seen is the oldest fear of the fallen world. It began in a garden with the rustle of leaves and the sudden shameful awareness of nakedness. We have been sewing fig leaves together ever since. But I ask you, what divine comedy is this? That we should hide the very thing that makes us divine, our unique and irreplaceable spark of consciousness, our individual song in the great symphony of creation. You were not made on an assembly line. You were wrought by fire and providence, your soul stamped with a die that was then shattered so that no copy could ever exist. And yet you spend your days apologizing for your singularity. You file away the imprint to fit a common lock. To shed the mask is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of resurrection. It is to roll away the stone from your own tomb. It will be painful. The light of true living will sting eyes accustomed to the dim twilight of performance. The muscles of your spirit, long atrophied from disuse, will ache with the strain of genuine expression. There will be those who preferred the ghost. There will be those who are unsettled by the sight of a real man or woman where once a pleasant fiction stood. They may retreat. Let them. They are not your audience. You are not performing anymore. Begin small. In the silence of your own chamber, ask yourself the terrifying question, what do I truly think? What do I truly feel? Not what should I think, not what would make me seem wise or good or agreeable. But what is the raw, unmediated response of my soul to this world? Then, in a conversation, venture one small piece of that truth. Offer it not as a challenge, but as a gift. You will be astonished to find that your vulnerability does not repel, but invites. It gives others permission to lay down their own burdens, to unlatch their own masks. The man behind the mask is not a monster. He is not a thing of shame. He is a soul, thirsting for the rain of authentic experience. He is a heart, pounding against the ribcage of its own construction, desperate to beat in time with another real heart. He is you, before the world told you who you ought to be. He is the uncarved block, the uncorrupted text, the unwritten poem. Do not let that man die in the dark. Do not let his voice be silenced by the fear of a disapproving glance. The world does not need more polished, perfect ghosts. It needs you. In all your glorious imperfection, in all your stumbling, seeking, radiant truth, tear away the veneer. Let the world see the grain. Let them see the scars. Let them see the fire. For only then, when you stand revealed, will you finally, truly be home. The clock does not merely tick, it chisels. With each passing second, a tiny, irreplaceable sliver of your life is carved away and falls, silently, into the abyss of what might have been. We speak of death as a moment, a singular event marked by a final breath, a stilling of the heart, a date chiseled upon cold stone. This is a comforting lie, a fable we tell ourselves to ward off the chilling truth. For death is not always so sudden, so courteous as to announce its arrival in one conclusive blow. More often, it is a slow, insidious process that begins long before the body fails. It is a quiet surrender, a series of small concessions, a retreat from the vivid frontier of life into a dim and comfortable hinterland. Most men, I tell you, die at 30. They are merely buried at 70. This early death is a death of the spirit. It is the murder of potential. It is the acceptance of a life that is a mere echo of a life, a painting rendered in shades of gray when the palette held every color of the sun. You see it in the eyes of the man who gave up his passion for a pension. You hear it in the voice of the woman who silenced her song to sing in unison with the dull choir of conformity. You feel it in the handshake that has no warmth, no pressure, for the soul has already vacated the premises. The body remains, a well-dressed caretaker, going through the motions in a house where all the lights have gone out. What is the catalyst for this living death? It is the love of comfort, the worship of security, the desperate clawing fear of uncertainty. We are taught to seek a life free from storms, to build our homes in the placid valley where the winds never howl and the sun is always mild. But I say to you, a soul that never weathers a storm is a soul that never knows its own strength. A ship that never leaves the harbor is safe, yes, but that is not what a ship is for. We are built for the tempest. We are made to chart unknown waters. The hunger for perfect safety is the hunger for the womb, and to seek it is to choose a kind of annihilation. This death by comfort is a death of 1,000 compromises. It is the yes spoken when the heart screamed no. It is the dream postponed until the season is right, until the account is full, until the fear subsides, until life becomes a waiting room for a train that has already left the station. It is the slow, patient accumulation of excuses, each one a brick in the wall that separates you from your destiny. Tomorrow, you say, someday. But tomorrow is the favorite resort of fools and cowards. Someday is a phantom country that does not appear on any map. The only day you are ever given is this one, this stark, demanding, glorious now. And what of regret? Regret is the ghost of that other life, the one you were too cautious to live. It does not shout, it whispers. It is the sound that haunts the silence of your comfortable room at 3 in the morning. It is the cold companion that climbs into bed with you, asking the terrible question, what if? What if I had spoken? What if I had dared? What if I had loved? What if I had lived? This regret is a more constant misery than any failure. For failure is a wound that proves you fought. Regret is a sickness of the soul that proves you surrendered without a battle. How then does one avoid this premature burial? How does one keep the fire lit when the world seems intent on throwing water upon it? You must wage a daily war against the inertia of the ordinary. You must court discomfort as a suitor courts his beloved. You must seek out the friction that sparks the flame of being. Make a vow to yourself, each morning as the sun reclaims the world from darkness. Today I will do one thing that frightens me. Today I will voice the unpopular opinion. Today I will take the first small step toward a dream that seems absurd. Today I will choose the path of most resistance, for it is there that strength is built. Do not let your life be a slow retreat from the battlefield. Do not cash in your divine inheritance of struggle and triumph for a handful of quiet years. Let the clock chisel. Let it remind you that the stone of your life is finite. Your duty is not to preserve the block, but to carve from it a masterpiece so bold, so fierce, so true, that even the angels will weep to see it. Do not die while you yet draw breath. Rise up from your comfortable grave. Inhale the storm. Let your heart beat a wild, defiant rhythm against the silence. And live, damn you. Live until you have no more life to give. You are not in a battle. You are a battle. A silent civil war rages within you, and the territory being contested is your very soul. Every man, every woman carries a field of conflict behind their ribs. It is a landscape scarred by trench and fortification, where two ancient armies clash in perpetual twilight. This is the first and final war, the only war that ever truly matters. All other conflicts, with rival, with circumstance, with the world, are but pale reflections, external manifestations of this primary internal struggle. To be born a conscious being is to be drafted into this service. There is no neutrality. You are either the general who commands or the coward who flees. You are building a legacy or digging a grave with every decision, every thought, every whispered yes and thundering no. On one side of this field stands the usurper. He is not a foreign invader. He is a native son, born of your own fears and desires. He is the voice that counsels retreat. He is the impulse toward sloth, toward envy, toward spite and self-pity. He is the serpent that whispers of your inadequacy, that magnifies every obstacle into an insurmountable mountain, that paints the world in shades of scarcity and threat. He is the coward who would trade your birthright for a moment of ease, your sovereignty for a bowl of warm soup. He is a master of disguise, often appearing as reason, as prudence, as the sober voice of practicality. But do not be fooled. His aim is not your preservation, but your imprisonment. He seeks not to protect you from pain, but to protect himself from your courage. Arrayed against him stands the sovereign. This is your truest self, the captain of your soul, the spark of the divine that was lit at your inception. The sovereign does not shout. His voice is a still, small certainty in the hurricane of doubt. He is the urge to create, to build, to love without measure, to stand firm upon principle when all the world would have you bend. He is the hand that reaches for the plow when the sun is hottest, the heart that chooses forgiveness when vengeance is sweetest, the spirit that looks upon a mountain and sees not an obstacle, but a summons. He knows the cost of the fight, but he also knows the greater cost of surrender. His currency is not comfort, but honor. His language is not complaint, but action. The outcome of this war is not decided in a single glorious charge. It is won or lost in 10,000 tiny skirmishes, fought in the mundane moments of an ordinary day. It is the decision to rise from your warm bed when the usurper begs for 5 more minutes of sleep. It is the choice to speak a word of kindness when the usurper demands a cutting remark. It is the will to open the book, to practice the craft, to take the walk, to make the call, when every fiber of your weaker nature screams for the distraction, the anesthesia of the trivial. Every time you heed the sovereign, you strengthen his command, you supply his troops, you fortify his position. Every time you yield to the usurper, you feed the very army that seeks your downfall. You are the quartermaster for both sides, and you choose, with every thought and deed, which army you will provision. There will be days when the usurper's forces seem overwhelming, days when the fog of war descends, and you cannot tell friend from foe within your own mind. Days of defeat, when you have retreated to the citadel of your old habits, and the flag of laziness or fear flies over your actions. Do not despair at this. A lost battle is not a lost war. The sovereign's cause is never extinguished, only tested. The shame you feel after a capitulation is not the voice of condemnation. It is the voice of the sovereign himself, reminding you of your allegiance, calling you back to your post. That very shame is proof that your honor is still alive, that your command is still intact. A true corpse feels no pain. Therefore, let your first duty each day be to survey this internal battlefield. Take stock of your loyalties, interrogate your impulses, ask of every desire, every hesitation, who commands this thought, the usurper or the sovereign? Make your allegiance conscious, make your choice deliberate. You will never slay the usurper entirely. He is a part of the landscape of your humanity. But you can vanquish him. You can push his forces back again and again until his voice becomes a faint echo, a pathetic whisper from a distant part of the field, easily ignored. You can make the sovereign's victory so complete that his rule becomes your natural state. This is the great work of a life, not the accumulation of wealth or the garnering of praise, but the achievement of a hard-won internal peace, forged in the fires of constant vigilance. The world will give you medals for battles that cost you nothing. It will applaud the conquest of external foes. But the only victory that will ever matter, the only one that will echo into eternity, is the day you can stand upon the field of your own soul, look upon the disciplined ranks of your own character, and know, with a certainty that shakes the heavens, that you are finally, undeniably, the master of your own house. The modern world worships at the altar of ease, and the devil of that religion is a smiling, soft-handed fiend who promises you everything in exchange for your soul's fire. We have built for ourselves a new Eden, a world of astonishing convenience, a world where food is summoned without the hunt, where warmth is conjured without the fire, where distance is annihilated without the journey. We have mastered the elements, only to become slaves to the thermostat. We have conquered the night, only to become afraid of the dark. We have padded our world with every imaginable softness, and in doing so, we have created the perfect conditions for the slow, luxurious death of the human spirit. For comfort is not the reward of a life well lived. It is its most seductive and dangerous opponent. Look around you. See the homes that are not sanctuaries but sarcophagi. They are climate-controlled entertainment-filled, stocked with every diversion to ensure the inhabitant is never bored, never lonely, never uncomfortable, and therefore never truly alive. Discomfort is the great awakener. It is the grit that irritates the oyster into making a pearl. It is the cold that reminds us of the preciousness of warmth. It is the hunger that makes the feast a sacrament. By systematically removing all friction, all ache, all need from our lives, we have not achieved paradise. We have engineered a state of exquisite numbness. We have traded the thrilling, dangerous symphony of life for the monotonous hum of the refrigerator. This gilded cage does not have bars of iron, but of expectation. We are imprisoned by the need to maintain this comfort, to service the debt of this easy life. We chain ourselves to desks we despise to pay for houses that are too large, to fill them with objects that demand our care and dusting. We trade our days, our precious, irreplaceable days, for the means to acquire more comforts that will, in turn, demand more days from us. It is a devil's bargain, a circular logic of despair. We numb the pain of this quiet betrayal with newer comforts, with finer distractions, with sharper sensations, but the soul cannot be fooled. It knows it is dying of thirst in an ocean of cream. For what is the cost of this comfort? It is the atrophy of will. It is the softening of the spine that was meant to bear great burdens. It is the dimming of the eye that was meant to gaze upon stars and wonder. The muscle of the spirit, like the muscle of the body, requires resistance to grow. Without the weight of difficulty, without the pull of adversity, it becomes weak and flaccid. A man who has never been cold does not know the true value of a blanket. A man who has never failed does not know the true taste of victory. A man who has never faced the abyss of his own doubt cannot possibly know the solid ground of his own faith. I am not advocating a return to squalor, a romanticization of poverty. I am issuing a warning against the priority of comfort. When the primary aim of your life becomes the avoidance of discomfort, you have signed a treaty with mediocrity. You have agreed to stay in the shallow end of the pool, forever afraid of the deep, cold, glorious water where the strong swimmers dwell. All growth, all discovery, all transcendence lies on the far side of hardship. The path to greatness is paved with stones of inconvenience, and the gate is guarded by the twin demons of fear and uncertainty. You must therefore become a conscious iconoclast. You must smash the idols of ease in your own life. You must seek out the cold shower, the long walk, the hard task, the fasting, the silence, the criticism, the risk. You must do this not as a punishment, but as a practice, as a form of spiritual calisthenics. You are training for the moment when real difficulty arrives, as it always does, not as a coddled child who will break, but as a tempered blade that will cut through the obstacle. Deny yourself, regularly, deliberately. Feel the pang of wanting and choose, for a time, not to satisfy it. In that space between desire and fulfillment, you will find yourself. You will find a resilience you did not know you possessed. You will find that the soul, when stripped of its cushions, stands up straight and reveals its true majestic height. Break out of the gilded cage. The door is not locked. It is only held shut by the weight of your own fear. Push it open. Step out into the bracing, uncomfortable, and utterly magnificent air of a life that is truly, fully, dangerously lived. Do not ask for a lighter load. Ask for a stronger back. For the weight you curse is the very thing that will forge your strength and prove your mettle to a watching heaven. There is a restlessness in you that your life of quiet diversion cannot soothe, a hunger that your daily bread cannot satisfy. You try to name it, ambition perhaps, or melancholy, but the word eludes you. It is a note perpetually out of tune with the music of your ordinary days. This, my friend, is not a malady to be cured. It is a summons to be answered. It is the echo of a purpose you have not yet claimed, the divine discontent that is the precursor to all greatness. You are not lost, you are being called. And the calling is a weight you are meant to carry. Every soul is born bearing a unique and sacred imprint, a destiny as particular as their fingerprint. This is your burden and your glory. It is the mountain you were born to climb, the song you were meant to sing, the battle you were destined to fight. To ignore this purpose is to feel a constant, low-grade shame, a sense of being perpetually out of place, like a sword used to stir soup. You were made for more than this. You were made for a weight that would force you to stand upright, for a task that would demand everything you have and then show you that you have even more to give. Many spend their lives running from this weight. They mistake it for a curse. They see the purpose-driven life as a life of struggle and difficulty, and they flee toward the open fields of leisure and amusement. But what they find there is not freedom, but a terrible lightness, an emptiness that becomes its own kind of prison. A life without a central purpose is a ship without a ballast, tossed by every wave, capsized by the slightest storm. It is a leaf blown on the wind, impressive in its freedom of movement, but destined to dry up and crumble, having touched nothing, changed nothing, meant nothing. Your purpose is that ballast. It is the keel that cuts deep into the water and keeps you upright in the gale. It is the North Star by which you navigate when the skies are black and the compass spins. It is not always a specific job or title. It is deeper than that. It is a direction, a quality of being, a standard to which you hold your days. It is the question you must ask yourself. Does this action, this thought, this alliance serve my purpose? Does it make me more the person I was meant to become, or less? This purpose is the lens through which the chaos of existence gains focus and meaning. Embrace the weight. Feel the pull of it on your shoulders. Let it ground you. Let it give heft to your words and gravity to your actions. The man who knows why he is here speaks with a different authority. He moves with a different economy. He does not waste his energy on the trivial, for he is husbanding his strength for the main task. He can endure the criticisms and the setbacks, for they are mere weather on the journey toward a fixed point. His life is not a series of random events, but a coherent narrative, a pilgrimage. Do not expect the path to be easy. A purpose worth having will demand sacrifice. It will ask you to leave certain comforts behind. It will force you to grow in ways that are painful. There will be days when the weight feels too heavy, when you will be tempted to set it down and walk away. On those days, remember this: the weight is not your enemy. It is your shape. It is the sculptor's hand that is carving away the excess, the non-essential, the cowardly parts of you, to reveal the figure hidden within the marble. The fatigue you feel is not the fatigue of decay, but the fatigue of creation. So stand up, square your shoulders, stop complaining about the burden, and start giving thanks for the strength it is building in you. The world is full of people who are light, inconsequential, who leave no mark and are quickly forgotten. Be the one who carries a divine weight. Be the one who steps heavily upon the earth, leaving footprints that others can follow. Be the oak, not the willow, the anvil, not the hammer. Bear your purpose not as a sentence, but as a crown, for it is in the bearing that you become a king. Do not flee from the storm, seek it. For it is in the breaking of your shell that you will discover at last the winged thing you were meant to be. The world preaches a gospel of escape. It offers 1,000 anesthetics for the soul, 1,000,000 distractions from the ache of being. It tells you that pain is an error, a malfunction in the machinery of a life meant to be smooth and pleasant. This is a lie woven from the shallowest of threads. I come to you with a sterner but far more beautiful truth. Suffering is not the antagonist of your story. It is the forge. It is the ruthless and necessary fire that burns away the dross of yourself to reveal the unbreakable metal of your character. Without it, you remain ore, full of potential but useless, a mere rock, dreaming of being a sword. You have known pain. You have felt the cold hand of loss on your shoulder. You have known the searing heat of betrayal, the dull, grinding ache of failure, the paralyzing frost of fear. And in those moments, you did what all creatures do. You recoiled. You cried out to the heavens for relief. You begged for the cup to pass from you. This is natural. But I tell you, the moment of greatest suffering is also the moment of greatest opportunity. It is the crossroads where you choose your eternity. One road leads downward, into the swamp of self-pity and bitterness, where you become a monument to your own wounds. The other road leads upward, onto the hard, high ground of wisdom and compassion. The choice is yours alone. What does suffering offer to those brave enough to embrace it? It offers the gift of sight. Prosperity is a veil that covers the eyes. It allows us to believe in the fiction of our own independence, our own cleverness, our own permanence. Suffering tears that veil away. It strips life down to its essentials. In the cold clarity of loss, you see what truly matters. In the humiliation of failure, you see your own vanity. In the grip of fear, you see the limits of your own control. This is not a pleasant sight, but it is an honest one. And from this brutal honesty, true strength is born. You stop building your house on the sand of illusion and start building on the rock of truth. Suffering is the great teacher of empathy. A heart that has never been broken is a pristine and beautiful thing, but it is also a small thing. It can sympathize, but it cannot truly know. It cannot sit in the ashes with another and say, I too have been here. Your pain is the currency that allows you to buy entry into the fellowship of the wounded, which is to say the fellowship of all humanity. It hollows you out, creating a void that can then be filled with understanding for others. It sandpapers your smooth edges, so you no longer scratch against the raw places of your fellow men, but can offer only a polished surface of grace. Do not waste your sorrows. Do not let them fester into resentment. Take them up, as a smith takes up a piece of iron, and thrust them into the fire. Let the flames of your own acceptance heat them until they are pliable. Then, place them on the anvil of your will and hammer them. Hammer them with prayer, with reflection, with action. Hammer them until they're no longer a random, jagged shard of pain, but a purposeful tool, a weapon, a work of art. The same metal that was a shackle can become a key. The same fire that could have consumed you can instead temper you. Ao will bear scars. This is inevitable. But wear them not as badges of victimhood, but as insignia of survival. They are proof that you have faced the fire and allowed it to transform you, not destroy you. The world does not need more people who have lived easy lives. It needs more philosophers of suffering, more alchemists of the soul who can take the leaden weight of trauma and transform it into the gold of wisdom. Your greatest ministry will not spring from your victories, but from your healed wounds. So do not curse the darkness that falls upon you. It is only in the deepest night that we can see the stars with perfect clarity. And it is there, in that blackness, that you will find the first faint light of your own unbreakable dawn. You are drowning in a sea of noise, mistaking the tumult for life itself, when all the while the answers you seek are waiting in the depths of a silence you are afraid to enter. We are a generation terrified of quiet. We fill our homes with chatter, our journeys with song, our minds with a relentless stream of stimulation, from waking until sleep claims us. We fear the void, the empty moment, the unoccupied second, as if it were a vacuum that might suck the very meaning from our lives. So we cram the silence full of noise, a desperate stuffing of the ears to block out a sound we have forgotten how to hear. The deafening roar of our own soul, asking the questions we spend our lives avoiding. This noise is not merely sound. It is a narcotic. It is the opium of the modern age, doled out by 1,000 different devices, keeping us docile and distracted. It prevents us from hearing the disquieting whispers of our own conscience, the restless stirrings of our unrealized potential, the quiet but persistent voice of regret. We anesthetize ourselves with podcasts and playlists, with news feeds and notifications, until we become spiritual somnambulists, sleepwalking through our own existence, reacting to stimuli but never initiating from a place of deep conscious purpose. We are afraid that if the music stops, we will be left alone with the one person we have neglected most, ourselves. But I tell you, silence is not empty. It is not a void. It is a fertile field, rich with the seeds of revelation. It is the womb of all great things. Into silence, the universe spoke its first word. In silence, every great poem, every symphony, every theorem was conceived. It is the canvas upon which God paints his visions. It is the listening post of the soul. You cannot hear the answer if you never stop asking the question. You cannot receive guidance if your own internal radio is constantly broadcasting. You must turn down the dial of the world to hear the faint, powerful signal of the eternal. Seek, then, the desert. Not necessarily a literal wilderness of sand and sun, though that may serve, but a desert of the spirit. A place and a time stripped bare of input. Begin with minutes. Sit in a room alone with no device, no book, no distraction. At first, it will be agony. The mind, like a spoiled child, will throw a tantrum. It will demand entertainment. It will bring up every worry, every memory, every trivial thought it has stored away. Your job is not to fight these thoughts, but to let them pass like clouds across a still sky. Observe them, but do not engage them. Beneath the weather of your mind, there is a sky that is always clear, always calm. Your goal is to sink down to that sky. In this silence, you will meet yourself. Not the curated self of the social gathering, not the performing self of your career, but the raw, essential I am that exists beneath the doing and the having. You will hear the subtle rhythms of your own life, the heartbeat of your purpose, the respiration of your fears, the circulation of your dreams. This is where clarity is born. This is where the chaos of experience is sorted and made meaningful. This is where you remember who you are and what you are here for. The answers you have been seeking frantically in books and from gurus have been within you all along, waiting for the noise to cease so they could make themselves heard. Make a temple of silence in your daily life. Guard it ferociously. Let it be the non-negotiable appointment you keep with your soul. In that sacred space, do not ask for anything. Do not beg or plead. Simply listen. Listen with the pores of your skin. Listen with your heart. Listen for the symphony that plays without sound, the guidance that speaks without words, the peace that surpasses all the world's understanding. The silence will begin to speak to you. It will show you the patterns you have missed. It will recharge your depleted spirit. It will give you the courage to re-enter the noise of the world, not as a frantic participant, but as a calm, centered, and powerful actor. You will carry the silence within you like a hidden spring, and from it, you will draw the water of life. You are not who you are. You are who you are in the process of becoming. A specter haunts your present self, the glorious, terrifying ghost of the man you have not yet dared to be. There is another you, a you that exists just beyond the veil of your current reality, a phantom limb of the soul that you can sometimes feel, tingling with a life that is not yet your own. This is the man you were meant to be, the woman you are capable of becoming. He stands on the far shore of your fears. She resides on the other side of your excuses. This potential self does not nag or criticize. It simply is. a silent, unwavering benchmark against which your present life is measured. And in your quietest moments, you feel the gap between who you are and who you could be. And that gap feels like a holy ache, a divine dissatisfaction that is the engine of all evolution. Most people spend their lives running from this specter. They mistake its presence for a reproach, a reminder of their own inadequacy. They dull the ache with distraction. They silence the whisper with noise. They lower the benchmark of the ideal to meet the reality of the mediocre. They commit the greatest treason against themselves. They negotiate a peace treaty with their own limitations. They agree to a smaller life to avoid the terrifying responsibility of a larger one. But the specter does not leave. It cannot be killed. It can only be ignored. And the cost of that ignorance is a life lived in a state of quiet, perpetual self-betrayal. You must stop running from this ghost and start following it. It is not your enemy. It is your guide. It is the pull of your own future, the gravitational force of your destiny. That feeling of restlessness, that sense that there must be more, that is not a curse. It is a compass. It is the needle pointing true north, toward the highest, best version of yourself. Your potential is not some abstract, fluffy concept. It is a specific, demanding, and precise set of qualities. The courage you have not yet shown, the discipline you have not yet applied, the love you have not yet expressed, the work you have not yet created. It is a call to arms. Bridging this gap requires a death, the death of the old you. The comfortable, familiar, underachieving self must be shed like a skin that has become too tight. This is why it is so terrifying. We cling to our known limitations because they are safe. They are a known country, even if it is a prison. The land of potential is uncharted territory. It requires you to venture into the wilderness of your own capabilities without a map. It demands faith. It requires you to become comfortable with the uncomfortable feeling of growth, of stretching, of becoming. How does one begin? You must hold a council of war between your present self and your potential self. Let your current self list the excuses. I am too tired. I am not smart enough. It is too late. I do not know how. Then let your potential self answer with vision. What would the man I am to become do in this situation? How would he spend this hour? What decision would he make? You must start to act as if you were already that person. Not with arrogance, but with a humble and deliberate assumption of the qualities you wish to embody. The action precedes the feeling. The doing forges the being. Do not be intimidated by the magnitude of the gap. It is not meant to be closed in a day. It is closed by the cumulative weight of 1,000 small choices. The choice to read rather than to scroll. The choice to create rather than to consume. The choice to speak the kind word rather than the clever cut. The choice to save rather than to spend. The choice to pray rather than to worry.